question is motion number 3.
Hello, it's Scotland at 7. It's the 12th of March 2019, and we're in the middle of a debate in the Westminster Parliament about the Brexit withdrawal. We're having a little bit of difficulty with the internet connection, but the debate is full on and furious. I've sat here and watched quite a bit of it. Many people have been speaking. Joanna Cherry just was given a few words to speak as an intervention, but the speaker was very harsh and very hard on her. I think we've got some noise in the background now. Yes, so obviously the Theresa May came back with her deal from Strasbourg yesterday evening, saying that she had managed to get some clarifications, some legal frameworks, some extra papers, codicil or whatever you like to call them, on this EU deal that she has. The Parliament, I've just been told, the Parliament, they distribute all this video to lots of different organisations, and I suppose so many people are tuning into it that it's overrunning their system. So Mrs May came back with her agreements last night. A lot of people have said there's not much change. The Attorney General, Mr Cox, has said that there has been a slight change, but there's still a possibility of the UK being kept into the backstop forever and a day. But of course the EU have actually said they don't want to be in the backstop for very long at all. It's not their want or wish. And of course a future trade deal would organise all of that and stop it. And of course many of the Brexiteers said at the beginning of all this that the people in Germany who want to sell cars won't want to have a barrier between us, and yet now they've got a different tune to play. I think actually while we're waiting to get back to the Parliament, maybe we should read some of the news of today. And the first story that we've got for you tonight is about the bombings that happened in London and Glasgow last week. And yesterday, a group calling themselves the IRA claimed responsibility for these explosive devices. I don't know if you recall, I'm a little bit older than some people who are watching the programme, I suppose, but the IRA was called the Provisional IRA during the terrible Troubles. This group apparently called themselves the New IRA. They said they were going to start calling themselves the IRA, and that's what they've done. So the Metropolitan Police and Police Scotland have issued a joint statement about these devices. They were received in 3 buildings in London at the University of Glasgow on the 5th and the 6th of March. A claim of responsibility was received on Monday the 11th of March by a media outlet in Northern Ireland using a recognised code word. The claim was allegedly made on behalf of the IRA, the Irish Republican Army. Investigations into these devices continue, and relevant inquiries are being made in relation to the claim of responsibility. Police said last week's packages bore similarities to previous devices linked to the dissident groups associated with Northern Ireland. Related terrorism and officers are already looking at this as a line of inquiry. However, they are keeping an open mind. Police also warned that 5 devices were sent, according to those claiming responsibility. However, so far, only 4 devices have been recovered. Relevant businesses and others have been advised to be vigilant for suspicious packages and report to the police if any are found. This advice was previously sent to armed forces personnel and is being reiterated again in the light of this claim. There was a statement which said, "We continue to urge the public to remain vigilant and report anything suspicious to police. Inquiries continue and no arrests have been made at this time." Another story we reported on last night was the terrible disaster where the Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft crashed. And it was the second one that crashed in a matter of months. Now, there's been a loud noise around the world, and the European airspace has been closed, the Indian airspace has been closed, following the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 fatal crash on Sunday. The UK Civil Aviation Authority has joined the Australian and Singapore and Malaysian authorities in banning the Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft from their airspace, as concerns grow for the passengers' safety. Airlines and national aviation authorities around the world have been grounding this type of aircraft for safety inspections. Nearly 40% of all the 371 Boeing 737 MAX 8 jets currently in service have been grounded, including 97 jets in China. Passengers have also been expressing concerns where they've booked on flights with airlines that have Boeing 737 MAX 8s in their fleet. The US Federal Aviation Administration issued a continued airworthiness notification for the 737 MAX 8s late on Monday to assure operators, and they have detailed a series of design changes mandated by Boeing in response to the Lion Air crash in Indonesia. A statement issued by Boeing said it had been working with the FAA in the aftermath of the Lion crash to develop enhancements to flight control software that will be deployed across the 737 MAX 8 fleet in coming weeks. Now, another report from yesterday. We seem to be catching up with what happened yesterday and adding to it. But yesterday we said to you that the reserves of oil in the North Sea had been, the estimates of reserves had been increased by 50% yesterday. Now, today, the oil price has risen to around 67 barrels a dollar. That's US dollars a barrel, 67, in response to Saudi Arabia's plan for further supply curbs in April and the cut of oil exports from Venezuela due to the political problems there. The Brent crude, the global benchmark, rose by 57 cents to $67.15 a barrel this afternoon, and West Texas Intermediate crude rose to $57.47 a barrel. Now we move to the World Wide Web, and the inventor of it, Tim Berners-Lee, was talking at the 30th anniversary of the invention of this incredible thing that's changed all our worlds. He said in an open letter that the web needs to change direction to prevent it plunging in a downwards dysfunctional future. In his letter, he said that the web has become a public square, a library, a doctor's office, a shop, a school, a design studio, an office, a cinema, a bank, and so much more. Of course, with every new feature, every new website, the divide between those who are online and those who are not increases. Now we might come back to Tim Berners-Lee's story. Oh, we're going to keep on to the end of it. Of those online and those who are not increases, making it the more imperative to make the web available for everyone. While the web has created opportunity, given marginal groups a voice, and made our daily lives easier, it has also created the opportunity for scammers, given a voice for those who spread hatred, and made all kinds of crime easier to commit. Yin and yang, there's always a positive and a negative side to everything. Tim Berners-Lee emphasized the necessity of governments and businesses and citizens to work together to build a new contract for the web, which will establish clear norms, laws and standards that underpin the web, and he called for governments to translate laws and regulations for the digital age. Citizens must hold companies and governments accountable for the commitments they make and demand that both respect for the web as a global community with citizens at its heart. So Tim concluded by saying, the web is for everyone, and collectively we hold the power to change it. It won't be easy, but if we dream a little and work a lot, we can get the web that we want. Now I think we've got a chance to get back and see what's happening in Parliament for a few moments. So let's see what's going on in Westminster now. All right, now to me it looks like everybody's in the chamber. There's not much talk, so maybe they've had a vote. Have they had a vote? All right, the vote on the motion to accept Theresa May's deal. So you want to hold your breath, sit on the edge of your seats. There was no amendments to this, and I suppose the tellers are going to be ready in a moment, and now we've lost the feed, which is a terrible shame. Well, there we are, Tim Berners-Lee's story of the World Wide Web. It's crashing around us because so many people want to use it. And I mean, it is. So what will the outcome be? If the deal is accepted on the 29th of March, we'll leave with a deal. A transition period will then ensue, and we'll stay as we are for quite a while, whilst people negotiate the next part of this new future relationship with the EU. If the deal fails, tomorrow there'll be another debate and there will be another vote on whether or not the UK should leave the European Union, but not with a deal. It must be that they can't leave without a deal. Now, if they can't leave without a deal, the next stage will be to extend the current situation it can only go to May, although there was some speculation that it might be continuing on through this transition period to give people a chance for another referendum. Of course, if Mrs May's deal gets voted down tonight, there will be a lot of speculation as to whether she can continue to lead the Tory party and to whether we change the government altogether. It's in the lap of the gods again, with no clear leadership. I suppose really, you see, there is no clear direction of where to go from here. People talk about the World Trade Organization. Out any possibility of knowing what's to come. But Ian Blackford, our man, our Scottish man at the head of the SNP in London, has made some comments today. He's urged MPs to reject Theresa May's Brexit deal, warning that it would be a disaster for Scotland, inflicting serious and lasting harm on jobs and living standards and the economy. I actually like created for itself. This fig leaf can't disguise the fact that this is a bad deal. It was a bad deal in December, a bad deal in January, and still is a bad deal now. Hoping to get the result now. It's gone quiet in the Parliament. People looking over their shoulders.
Investigate the delay in the lobbies.
There's a delay in the lobbies.
On the assumption that he can get anywhere near them.
Sergeant at Arms will go down there at the request of the Speaker. So the continue on what Ian Blackford said, the chaotic attempt to placate extreme Tory Brexiteers only serves to prolong the chaos and uncertainty. It is a blind Brexit, a blindfold Brexit, which will take Scotland out of the single market, which is 8 times the size of the UK, and leave the people at the mercy of the Tories as they continue to tear themselves apart. Westminster is failing Scotland. MPs must now reject this deal, extend Article 50, and put in place plans for a second referendum with the option to remain in the EU. Or Scotland will have to take steps to protect our own interests. I mean, interestingly, there was a poll yesterday that we reported on from Wings Over Scotland saying that more people would stay would like independence rather than and stay in the EU. Today, there was another poll, this one. All the tellers are coming.
Eyes to the right, 242. The nose to the left, 391. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlocked.
So Mrs May has been defeated.
Order. Point of order, the Prime Minister.
The margin does count. Prime Minister's going to speak now.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, I profoundly regret the decision that this House has taken tonight. I continue to believe that by far the best
We've lost Mrs. May for a moment. What's the difference there? We can't hear Mrs. May. Yes, we can't hear Mrs. May. She's been paused. 242 for yes. 181 no. 391 no. So it's a substantial thing. There was a comment earlier today that if the vote was only maybe a margin of 40, then maybe she could sit that out and survive and maybe put it to the House again. But this is far more than 100.
For that reason, I can confirm that this will be a free vote on this side of the House.
Free vote on what? I didn't hear.
And I have personally struggled with this choice, as I'm sure many other honourable members will. I'm passionate about delivering the result of the referendum, but I equally passionately believe that the best way to do that is to leave in an orderly way with a deal. And I still believe that there is a majority in the House for that course of action. And I'm conscious also of my duties as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of the potential damage to the Union that leaving without a deal could do when one part of our country is without devolved governance. I can therefore confirm that the motion will read that this House declines to approve leaving the European Union without a withdrawal agreement and a framework on the future relationship on the 29th of March 2019, and notes that leaving without a deal remains the default in UK and EU law unless this House and the EU ratify an agreement. I will return to the House to open the debate tomorrow and to take interventions from honourable members, and to ensure the House is fully informed in making this historic decision. The Government will tomorrow publish information on essential policies which would need to be put in place if we were to leave without a deal. These will cover our approach to tariffs and to the Northern Ireland border, among other matters. If the House votes to leave without a deal on the 29th of March, it will be the policy of the Government to implement that decision. If the House declines to approve leaving without a deal on the 29th of March, the Government will, following that vote, bring forward a motion on Thursday on whether Parliament wants to seek an extension to Article 50. If the House votes for an extension, the Government will seek to agree that extension with the EU and bring forward the necessary legislation to change the exit date commensurate with that extension. But let me be clear.
It is a little frustrating that we can't get a good train to London. But Mrs. May's then announced that tomorrow's vote will be a free vote, and it will be to say pass the House.
These are unenviable choices, but thanks to the decision that the House has made this evening, they are choices that must now be faced.
Point of order, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Government has been defeated again by an enormous majority, and they must now accept their deal, their proposal, the one the Prime Minister has put, is clearly dead and does not have the support of this House. And quite clearly, no deal must be taken off the table. We've said that before, and we'll say that again. But it does mean the House has got to come together with a proposal that could be negotiated.
Yeah, Mr. Corbyn's now been tourniqueted. Yes, Mrs. May, she said some very important things there. Of course, in the law at the moment, we have to leave on the 29th of March from the EU, with or without a deal. If we go out without a deal, then it's going to be
We'll put forward our proposals again, which are about a negotiated customs union, access to the market and protection of rights. Those are the ones we'll put forward. We believe there may well be There may well be a majority for them, but there will also be the potential of negotiating them. The Prime Minister has run down the clock, and the clock has been run out on her. Maybe it's time instead we had a general election and the people could choose who their government should be.
Point of order, Mr. Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a humiliating defeat for the government this evening, and this deal should not come back in any way, shape, form again. Mr. Speaker, people will once again be looking on at this Parliament and at this government in despair. The next few days.
Yes. Mrs. May has said that we'll have a vote tomorrow, and that's to take the no deal off the table.
We have the opportunity to vote to block any attempt to leave the EU without a deal. And the Prime Minister must act as Prime Minister, not as the Tory party leader, and bring her party into line, stop the UK being dragged off a cliff and vote against a no-deal Brexit. As Prime Minister, it is the duty of the government to act in all our national interests, and that means ruling out no deal. And then we in the Scottish National Party will be prepared to engage in discussion with the government on securing an extension to Article 50 that is long enough to enable the issue to be put back to the people. This afternoon, the First Minister of Scotland told the Prime Minister that in the event that the deal was voted down again, we would engage constructively on sensible proposals. These proposals must include another EU referendum. Mr. Speaker, can you advise on what options are open to the House to bring these proposals forward swiftly in the interests of time? We have a responsibility to end the uncertainty for all our constituents and all our businesses.
Right honourable gentleman for his point of order, which I think was probably directed at a wider audience, but insofar as the right honourable gentleman asks me for advice, what I would say to him is I think that these matters can be explored in debate almost imminently. The Prime Minister...
Yeah, so there's Ian Blackford calling for a second referendum and saying that the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, had talked to Theresa May about that already this afternoon. And one wonders if there's any other course of action. Possibly there is not. Take it back to the people. Yeah, I mean, it's highly likely that tomorrow, when the vote's taken place, that they won't vote for a no deal. They don't want that to happen. Nobody would want it. So we're going to be looking really probably. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn would like to have a general election because he'd like to be Prime Minister, of course. But this is still about the extension of Article 50, but of course that has to be agreed with the EU, and they're going to have a pretty big excuse to let that go on, because the European elections come up in May. Yeah, if this goes on, if it doesn't go on to May 23rd, then we'll have to put up candidates for the European election, which Ian Blackford told us last week. The SNP have already been selecting candidates for that election. There's a poll out today. It was commissioned by the Daily Mail newspaper, and it has found that the SNP remains the most popular party in Scotland with a 19-point lead over its nearest rivals. 43% of voters would back the SNP in a Holyrood election, ahead of the Tories on 24% and Labour in third place on 22%. You can see a graph there. And the poll also finds that there would still be a pro-independence majority in the Scottish Parliament at the next election. Commenting, SNP Deputy Leader Keith Brown said, The poll makes dismal reading for the Tories and the other Westminster parties. And we've got the regional list voting intentions on the screen for you now. You can see SNP up above 30%, about 32%. The rest of what Keith Brown had to say, support for independence is now higher than backing for any kind of Brexit, which is why the Tories are running scared of giving people a say on their future, because they fear they would lose. This poll shows a big majority of people support an independence referendum, and no wonder when the Westminster system is clearly broken. So it's exciting stuff down in Westminster, and obviously tomorrow night we'll have some more for you about that. I think what we're going to do is scroll down here. Obviously things have got a bit out of kilter, as it is exciting to be doing this. And which story shall we choose for you? There's one story here it's good news, and it's always good to have a bit of good news. Although it was interesting that in Parliament there, Ian Blackford didn't talk about independence for Scotland. He talked about something else, about a second referendum for the EU. And I think that says a lot, actually, about how Scottish people think, and a holistic approach. Anyway, let's have this nice story at the end of the news bulletin today. New build houses completed up by 4%. Housing Minister Kevin Stewart has welcomed the latest quarterly update on the housing statistics for Scotland, which has shown an increase of 4% in the number of new build homes completed over the year ending in September 2018. There was a total of 18,750 new build homes completed, 635 homes up on the previous year. Responding to the figures, the Minister said, making sure everyone is safe and warm and affordable home is central to the government's vision of a fairer and more prosperous Scotland. I am delighted that we remain on track to deliver our ambitious target to deliver 50,000 affordable homes during the lifetime of this Parliament. Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow with the other vote, but it's fairly clear what's going to happen. They won't vote to leave the European Union without a deal, that's for certain. So then we move into other territory. Will Mr. Corbyn have a chance to have his election? Will we go for a second EU referendum? But of course the first thing that could be is an extension of Article 50, and that will depend on the EU elections, or will, as was speculated this afternoon, the possibility of extending it for what would have been the period of transition, which was outlined in the Brexit deal of Mrs. May. So it's all to play for, all to go, and the biggest question, I suppose, is will Mrs. May survive the night? Or will the people in the Tory party decide that she has got to move on and someone else has to take the reins up? And will she indeed feel that she has done all she can? Who knows? Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully you will too. Please encourage your friends to watch us. We need to have a lot of people watching. This is Scottish broadcasting. This is Broadcasting Scotland. It's a news service with a Scottish slant to it, so you can get the full view from Scotland. So thanks for watching tonight. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, and that's all we got. Bye-bye.